After building this custom elf figure in a recent video, I decided I wanted to give him a home in my fantasy world. So my goal is to create a small group of figures to go with him, and then build an outpost they can inhabit. This build will eventually become part of the largest MOC I've ever made. Every big fantasy MOC starts small, and this new series begins with a 16x16 base. In the past, I used 32x32 Mills plates, but for this series I'm trying a new style inspired by my friend Cheesy Studios. He creates custom plates for his Minecraft MOCs that allow him to add underground sections and raise the terrain with ease. His modular system allows for more variety, and after chatting with him I decided to use a similar approach here. Honestly, even though his series is about Minecraft, it inspired me a lot to make this MOC series. The base layer of plates is dark gray, framed with dark gray bricks, and I've added Technic pinholes in the corners for future expansions. A few filler bricks provide support, and the top layer is mostly dark green, with light gray at the front where the ruins will go. Mainly to save on my dark green pieces because I definitely don't have a ton of those. While researching Outposts, I kept seeing ruined watchtowers, which gave me the idea. This elven group has set up camp in the remains of an old ruined tower. Before building the ruins, I used basic bricks to just sketch out the structure. Looking through castle MOCs gave me two must-haves: a small tower for a guard and a staircase. For the stairs, I went with steps that are 2 plates tall. I decided this because they look cleaner and take up less space. Once I finalized the layout, I removed the basic bricks and started building. I built in holes, uneven stones, and a mix of olive and dark green to mimic moss. I also extended the wall to wrap around more of the camp. It looked odd with just a single wall and just kind of got in the way of future plans. To sell the ruined look, I added plant life, olive green leaves, and dark green vines. The effect really brings the ruins to life. My favorite part has to be the stairs. They're uniform, but they still have that crumbled and worn look to them. Since it's a camp, I also added a campfire, a weapons rack, and some barrels for supplies. With the build done, it's time to focus on the figures. I want to add a total of 3 figures from the Veilguard to this MOC. For the base of all these figures, I'm using this leg, torso, and arm combo that I used for my elf druid. The first figure is that elf druid, which I wanted to update for this build. I started by switching out the hair to this long brown elven hair. On top of that, I changed out the cape for this dark green one that uses a stiffer material. Finally, I grabbed the shield from the Forest Maiden CMF figure. Now for this new fantasy world I am building, I'm going to make a very controversial choice. As you can already tell, I'm going to use flesh-toned heads instead of yellow ones. After the D&D CMF line and the recent Lord of the Rings sets, I just love how flesh-toned heads look for fantasy minifigures. If I decide down the road that I don't want to do this, it would be an easy change. But as of right now, this is what I'm going to do for my fantasy world. For the second figure, I grabbed that soft cape that I pulled from the last figure and a brown quiver. Instead of hair, I grabbed a dark green hood. Now I do want to use hoods for some of my elves. However, to make sure they stand out from humans and other races, I need to make sure I have some rules in place. In my fantasy world, elves do not have beards. If they have a hood or helmet, they must use a weapon that I've deemed exclusive to elves. For this figure, I am giving him a longbow. I'm only allowing elves to use longbows so they stand out from the other hooded archers I will make. It's basically my staple at this point. I mean, of course I'll be making other hooded archers. For the final figure, I used the base combo and then grabbed the female head from the halfling druid. While at Brick Universe Rochester, I bought Namor because I thought his hair would be fun to use for this elf. He also has just some really cool printed parts. Finally, I finished off the figure by giving her a spear. Now that all the figures are done, let's put them into the MOC. Now for the most important part of this build, the lore. On top of a mountain sits the ruined tower Veilguard, which sits at the border of the Blooded Crags. During ancient times, men built the tower on this mountain due to its view over the surrounding landscapes. However, after long times of peace, the tower guard became lazy and less watchful. That's when the hordes arrived, burning and pillaging the land. Now the tower is in disrepair and just a relic of decades past. However, a small group of the Veilguard, led by Lyrith Ashbloom, have started used as an outpost to guard against the foes from the Blooded Crags, and new enemies who have come from the mountains. Who are the Veilguard? They are an elite group of elves who are tasked with protecting the land, the Silent Watch between civilization and the chaos beyond. They live as nomads, surviving through unmatched skill in woodcraft, deep knowledge of the natural world, and a bond with their land that runs as deep as their bloodlines. Cloaked in shadow and secrecy, masters of stealth, and cunning ambushers who strike swiftly and vanish without a trace. Though sworn to the elven crown, they are not confined to its borders, patrolling far and wide through forests, mountains, and wastelands alike. To many, they are ghost stories whispered around campfires. Figures who appear when least expected and disappear just as quickly, leaving only silence and safety in their wake. Taverns echo with songs that tell how the Veilguard have stood against armies alone, wielding bow and blade with divine purpose. While in the dark corners where evil things dwell, they are feared as silent reapers, cloaked in myth. However, these stories come nowhere close to the Veilguard's true heroism. Yet they seek no glory, only balance and the enduring peace of the wild. That wraps up the Ruined Tower. So for the next video, I was originally going to tackle some of the mountains that this tower sits on. However, with the announcement of the new Kraken and Griffin factions, I really want to do a build based around them. So we're going to move to a different part of my fantasy world and build a port for the Griffins, which will be under attack by the Krakens. If you'd like to see that build when it comes out, hit that subscribe button so that you're alerted when it drops. With that, I wrap up this tale. Till next time.